Good evening and welcome to Image Brothers Presents Conversations with Michael Carson. I'm your host, Michael Carson. Thank you guys so much for joining us this evening. This has just been a crazy week. Happy Earth Day to all of you like me who care about our environment and who are out there fighting on the front lines for environmental justice. We have so much to do in our community with respect to that. So shout out to you. Shout out to State Rep Mandisha Thomas and City of South Fulton Councilman Corey Reeves for their excellent expo they held this morning on environment and everyone that participated in that. Hey, if you're joining me tonight via Facebook, please hit the share button and tell people about it. Also hit like and join us here every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you're watching me via YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so that you'll be able to tune in. As I say each week, this is a show produced by and for Black men. So each week we're going to bring you nothing but the best guests. This week, I'm excited about the guests we have on our show. We're gonna hit a couple topics tonight. It's gonna be free flowing. I do have some questions, but I've already told these brothers they can say whatever they feel necessary to say, because what's important is that we don't always drive the narrative from a media standpoint, or we always hear the narrative from a media standpoint and think that's really all that's going on. These men are in the street. When I say in the street, they're advocating on behalf of our community and they're doing the work. They're putting in the work. And I'm fortunate and privileged to be a part of the show sponsor tonight, Black Male Initiative Georgia. You'll hear a little bit more about them from the co-founder who's on with me tonight. So without further ado, I am going to bring in my guest, Brother KJ, Brother John, and Brother Adema. Thank you, brothers, so much for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. I always ask my guests, because I don't assume that everybody knows who everybody is who's listening. Starting with KJ, tell people, our guests, who you are and share a little bit about you and what you're doing out there to make a difference in the community.
For sure, brother. First, thank you for having us on tonight. We really appreciate the opportunity to speak on behalf of all the work we've been doing in the community for everybody that we love and care about. My name is KJ. I'm a serial entrepreneur and community activist. I've been doing this work for about a year and a half now. I've been studying under these two wonderful brothers right here who have been taking me under their wing and showing me all the great ways that I can be a change and a help in my community. I'm from Atlanta. I went to school in Cobb County. And I'm just giving back in as many ways as I can.
Thank you so much. Brother Adema, you on mute. You got yourself muted. Tell the audience who you are and the work that you're doing in our community.
What's up, everybody, man? Thank you guys for having us once again. Like I said, my name is Adema Ufats. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, community organizer who's been doing this work about approximately 10 years now. And like I said, we're here to organize brothers in our state, man, get them on the same page and have some real talk and some real conversations to make some change. So currently I'm with Black Men Build, and prior to that I was with New Georgia Project and Agenda for Young Georgians, and we've been on a couple political campaigns. So that's the work we do, and that's why I'm here on this call.
Thank you so much. Last but certainly not least, my brother, he's the one that drives the engine for all of us, co-chair of Black Male Initiative Georgia. He's also with Black Men Build, one of the, I don't know if you're a founder of that or one of the grand poobahs sitting at the throne, getting all Black men around the country galvanized and organized to do this work. It's just a privilege to have you on, and also you're in the labor movement, leading that charge, and just, I mean, you just everywhere doing everything for the community. I'm just excited to have you on tonight. John, let people know who you are.
Man, Brother Michael, it's good to be with you, fam, first of all. And really, I'm just happy to be a servant, man, just a servant for Black folks, serving for Black men, serving for our community. So, yeah, I work with SEIU. That's my day job. But then outside of that, we're co-founders for Black Male Initiative Georgia, because we wanted to put out the positive frame around the work that Black men did and do. And we wanted to put that in the context of us working in collaboration, never in competition with our sisters. We love our sisters. We believe in our sisters. We support the leadership of Black women. And we're out here in the streets to let everybody know that we're doing real work and we do it together. And then with Black Men Build, I'm on the advisory committee, the steering committee, because I am humbled and honored to have a group of Black men and women who are focused on not just lifting up the positive work that Black men do, but also drawing a real political line and making sure that people understand that Black men are critical thinkers and that we're engaged. And so there's a whole frame that these brothers bring into the space where no matter where else we are, you may not feel welcome, but when you come into BNB and when you come into BMI, you home.
Talk about while we're there, and I would like for you and Adima and KJ, if you want to chime in, talk a little bit about the work that's been going on the last year, because I think the narrative here in Georgia has been that Black men haven't been doing as much as they've been doing. We voted like 90-some%, and nationally we're putting in the votes here in Georgia, but there was a lot of work and there were a lot of community organizing and mobilizing around that. So talk a little bit about the work we did with respect to the last election and some of the things that we're going to do going forward. John, if you will, and Nadima and KJ, if you want to link something for that.
Yeah, I'll frame really quickly and kick it to the young brothers. So, in Georgia right now, there's no less in the metro area of Atlanta. There's no less than about 450,000 Black men who are registered voters, who the party and who political folks consider low propensity voters or infrequent voters. A lot of brothers start calling that low investment voters, because those are folks that they just don't care about. The system does not take time to recruit us or get out and speak to us. And so that's the focus for what BNB and BMI did during this last election cycle. We went to brothers specifically who were registered to vote but had not voted since maybe 2008 because the political system had failed to speak to them in any real way and had failed to make connection with them. And so we started to have conversations with them, not just about voting, quite frankly, but about how to change the material conditions in their life. We talked about the pandemic. We talked about COVID. We talked about, the underground economy. We had conversations with brothers about how they were surviving and feeding their kids and their families. We talked about their fears and their struggles. And out of that conversation, we said, how do we help you connect to wraparound services and support and build some capacity and a real network that really cares about what happens in your day-to-day life? And so we were able to tap over 150,000 folks via contact, either by cell phone, email, text message, digital, or in-person canvassing. But I'll pass to Adima and KJ to talk more about the program, because these brothers led the program on the ground in Georgia.
Excellent.
So we did a few things. I'm gonna chime in real quick, and like Brother John said, we had real conversations with brothers in the street that involved telling them that there is an election that is going on, but what's some of the issues that bother you, brother, in your neighborhood? What's some of the things that you like to see change in your city or your surroundings? And some of those issues that came apart, as you see in Birmingham, Mayor recently just pardoned 15,000 brothers, inmates from marijuana charges. And that was a very, very big concern for brothers in this past election. Like, look, nonviolent criminals and similar people, returning felons, should have opportunities to be successful here in America. So those are some of the conversations I was having with brothers, as well as brothers talking about being fathers and having an opportunity to raise their kids and have as equal rights as women. So those are some of the issues and some of the campaigns which drove brothers to be politically active in this past election. Those are some of the conversations door to door and meetings we was have. Because 2020, like I said, besides the pandemic, it was a healing year. It was a year that Black dollars did flow. So these are people. Now we start having real conversations. So that's what I come with. That's what I talk with.
Excellent. Brother KJ, you want to get in there?
Man, they said it all. We just did work. Honestly, that's what it takes. It took being genuine, being honest, and sacrificing time and effort to really push this envelope and see things change. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, and I want to let everybody know who's joining us tonight that there's, there's more work to be done, and these brothers are doing the work, and I'm proud to be a partner with them, not only through this show, but through the work that we're embarking on for the remainder of 2021 with BMI. At the bottom, I put the email if you're interested in what BMI is doing. If you want to learn more about Black Men Build, feel free to send us an email so that we can get you plugged in to the work that's being done and the work that needs to be done. There's always room for brothers to and sisters, but we want to get brothers engaged who could, help out and help us to do what we need to do. So let's jump right into it. COVID-19. COVID-19. So I want to go. I saw this real powerful article from ProPublica. It was published in December 2020, and it was entitled "How COVID Hollowed Out a Generation of Young Black Men." Basically, in its prime, and with respect to that, with respect to that, they had a video in the article. So for the guests and for those of you that are watching, I want to play this video. It's a couple minutes, but and then we'll talk about it on the back end.
It's the skin you're in that matters. You are consciously aware of being a Black person in America. Your system responds to that. I was not surprised that the pandemic had the disparate effects that it did on African Americans. I am the originator of John Henryism theory, which posits that repeated hierarchical coping over years, over decades, with very difficult life circumstances can really cause damage to the cardiovascular system and then eventually lead to high blood pressure, heart attacks, and strokes. The John Henryism theory takes its name from the legend of John Henry, the steel-driving man.
Some said he was born in Texas, some said he was born in Maine, but I don't give a damn where that poor boy was born. He was a steel-driving man. Lord, now he was a steel-driving man.
John Henry engaged in an epic battle against a newly invented steam drill, and he beat the machine. But he dropped dead after his victory from complete mental and physical exhaustion. You have today, in 21st century America, so many African Americans who are caught up in a John Henryism situation, who are faced with real adversity, deepening economic hardship, loss of jobs, loss of health insurance, threats to one's sense of personhood, one's sense of dignity. The stress is enormous, and people don't give up. That persistence, working twice as hard, over time can really impair multiple physiological systems. By the time they're in their 20s and 30s and 40s, they're already having things like high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity. Now along comes the pandemic, and they are susceptible because of these underlying conditions, and yet they have to try to make a living. That's the John Henryism situation. It's on display.
I got something to say.
Everybody back?
Man, look.
All
right.
Something to say.
All right, everybody back? Is everybody back?
Yeah, Mike. KJ
All right.
came back saying, I got something to say.
I know. So I played that video for a reason. So because it was embedded in the story, and basically it was saying that Black men are dying obviously at a larger proportionate rate than other communities as a result of COVID, due to there's a lot of factors with regards to that, and he talked about a little bit about it in the video because of the stresses of life, the lack of health care, so forth and so on. So just recently, we just ended a little over a year with dealing with COVID. So, the president yesterday said they've issued over 200 million vaccinations. But I want to know, what is the word on the street amongst Black men and vaccinations? Because it still seems to be, I still keep getting mixed messages. I want to get vaccinated, or I don't want to get vaccinated. I don't trust it. What are you guys hearing about vaccinations and COVID as it pertains to brothers? Anybody could jump in on that.
Well, I know, speaking for myself, I'm not taking it.
Hey, I
But
can't hear you, KJ.
can you hear me now? Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, Dima can hear me. All right. So, speaking for myself, I'm not taking it. But as far as a consensus between the brothers that I've spoken to about it, the people that have taken it or plan on taking it, their reasons go way beyond health or fear of sickness. It's more out of respect for loved ones, job situations, fear of being the FOMO, fear of being, left out. Like you feel like life is moving in a certain direction, so you think you have to jump on which way it's moving because you don't know how to navigate waters where you're not in the status quo. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's lack of self-education, you know what I mean? Kind of just making a decision without doing research. Like the fact that they had to retract the Johnson & Johnson vaccine because of the issues that was going on with it. We didn't study it long enough, you know what I'm saying? But as far as a general message with Black men, it's not for us. You know what I mean? It was never built with us in mind. So it's another one.
Okay.
We got to.
All right, that's honest, real talk. What did you want to say, Adema? Did you want to chime in on that?
It's mixed messaging when it comes to the vaccine. As a Edema, I stand for whoever wants to take the vaccine. I support them in their efforts of taking it, and whoever doesn't want to take the vaccine, I understand the issues and reasons why they wouldn't want to take it because of the lack of trust of the government. I'm for choice and, like I said, autonomy. If you want to take the vaccine, then take it. And if you don't, then don't take it. And just know the information. Just know the goods, the bads, what you need to know to take it, and what you need to know not to take it. Just being able to be informed as Black men and having the real. I'm okay with that message to say, hey, this was a trusted doctor said about the vaccine and why you should take it. And these are some of the reasons why some people think you shouldn't take it. So when it comes to me and the vaccine, I just want all the pertinent information so Black men can make their own choices.
Right. So do you think that the information is out there? Do you guys think that the information
I think it's slowly being out there, but it's not put out to the masses. I don't think, but you have to do your work. You have to do your own research and your own work if you want it. It's just not put out there. It's just not out there, like where it's not on social media platforms, where it's on every morning, today in the morning, or ESPN, or where Black people at. It's not just regularly where you have these conversations. I think this conversation needs to be more, so you can have a trusted source or a doctor say, hey, this is what's up, man. This is somebody we know. For example, LeBron James came out and said, yeah, he's for it, but he didn't tell nobody else to go take it. He just said, yeah, he's taking it, his family's taking it. But
right.
Nobody just came out there and really just said, yeah, you guys go take it.
So did you guys get a chance to see the doctors that during the Black Men Bill call we had? I don't know, how many months ago was that, John? Was that like
I was on
4 months?
Yeah.
So what were your thoughts about that? And then is it because what I'm wanting to know is are Black men saying that they're not taking it because they don't have all the information, or it's just, to your point, Edema, it's just their choice not to take it because they feel like they want? Okay.
I think it's both. I think it's both. I think some Black men just say, I don't want to take it. And then you can have some black men that want to be more informed about the shot and more informed about taking the vaccine. And you have that. You have that. People just don't have the information readily to do. Same with the flu shot. I know black men have never taken a flu shot. Has never gotten the flu. You can't convince them otherwise. So I know black men who've never gotten COVID and don't never plan on taking a COVID shot.
Okay. John, what do you want to weigh in on this and say?
So I think for me, there's always 3 points, right? So my 3 points on this are, number one, I appreciate the perspective of the young brothers and the fact that they are telling us what they really think and feel. And I appreciate that our response to them wasn't, oh my God, you just don't know. And we got to teach you and educate. Look, at the end of the day, every person has a right to make a decision for what they believe is in the best interest of their lives. And it would be ridiculous for us not to own the fact that there is a historical and systemic frame of white supremacy and racism that has used black and brown bodies for test subjects. So if we don't own that as a reality, and if we don't understand that the barrier to trust in this system with everything that's going on is drastically higher, especially for black men and black women, then we're failing our communities. So that's the first thing. The first takeaway for me is that I don't ever want to berate anyone for not taking the vaccine. I want to sit down and have an informed discussion with them. And whether they see my perspective or I come to better understand them, at the end of the day, I want them to know the facts, be well advised, and make an informed decision. Now, number two on this is simple for me. I'm of a little bit older, like half generation older than them. I do think about the health impacts. I went to Tuskegee. I had a great uncle who was part of the Tuskegee experiment. I weighed all those factors before I got the vaccine, and I took the vaccine because of a lot of personal health factors that I wanted to make sure I was taken care of, because I have an obligation to my 3 children that I want to see grow up, and because I'm gonna speak very plainly. I don't just listen to what white folks say. I watch what white folks do. And by extension, when I say white folks, I mean people with power. And so having watched so many people who were in the privileged class line up around the stadium in the first 3 weeks and take that shot, and watch them kind of like fall over themselves to take that shot, made it clear to me that it was important to do some research. And then the last thing I'll say about this, the third one for me, is that at the end of the day, I'm worried about access, and I'm worried about the numbers of black folks who are preyed upon by this virus, and globally, the number of black folks that have lost their lives as a result of this virus.
Yeah, and that's what my focus has been on most recently, is the access not only to vaccinations but the access to information. So what more do you think we can do from a state, and if all you guys can weigh in on this, what more can we do from a local, state, and federal, municipalities to make sure that people are informed, because it appears that they've missed the mark in some kind of way, or the information isn't getting out there in such a way that people have the right information who want the information, be it one way or the other. It seems like somewhere there's a disconnect between the two. So where are they missing the mark, and what do you guys recommend? Because my day job is with a world-renowned nonprofit, and we haven't supported getting the vaccination, but they've partnered with others who are providing access to for the vaccination. So that's been the thing to look at, is what is the access to not only the vaccination, but healthcare in general. But since we're talking about the vaccine, where do you think we could do better?
I think this country needs to expend a great deal more resource in targeting the black community, specifically around educational imperatives for this vaccine and the virus itself. I mean, look, we are an underserved population, and because of all the barriers I just laid out in my previous statement, it makes sense that it would be harder to get black men and black women to step up and take this vaccine, which means you have to expend more resource to get to our community and make sure that we're properly educated and updated about the options.
Right. What about you, Adima? Where can we do better at connecting the information to the people who need the information, so that they can make informed choices about what's best for them?
John hit it on the head, man. We do have to put more resources into the community, into informing us, creating pamphlets, creating trusted websites that Black men can go to, or trusted hubs such as BNB Hub, where you can come get information. You can come and learn about the vaccine and make an informative choice if you want to take it or not take it, and places where to go take it at. Who's supported it and who has not supported it. Just the information. So I think what we could do, we could start with the young people. Now that the vaccine is available to everybody in Georgia, no matter what your age is, we can start with the 16 and up crowd and reach them by at their schools and with those teachers and those after school programs, just having conversations with the young crew and say, how y'all feel about the vaccine? Is it because now it's becoming mandatory for them to go to college, that they have to take the vaccine, such as Morehouse campus and Clark Atlanta University, both two HBCU universities that took a stance of their students and faculty have to have the vaccine before returning to campus in August. So if colleges are taking that stance and school systems are taking that stance, do they have are they providing the information to the community, to those students, to those parents, to those grandparents who need that information to say, where can I go take it? Why is it important? What is the health factors of it? It's just the information. Because now is like John always say, it's life now in 2021. You have to have the vaccine to work at certain companies and to do certain things. But we don't have the information. So how do we get that information so everybody can have adequate information?
So what's the best way to get the information to our community? We found effective. I know during the election period, I was getting, 4 or 5 mailers a day.
BMI does that. We give you mailers.
It was mailer overload. But to your point, where we need information about the vaccine and the like. How do we get the information to, again, the people that might not be paying attention, the people that were out trying to get engaged to help, so that they can be a part of the process, so they can make informed decisions about themselves, be it around this or criminal justice reform, about education or whatever. So how do we get the information to them?
Like you said, mailer. Like you said, canvas programs. Like you said, hot spots. Where Black men and Black women are going to be at. Wherever they at, that's where the information needs to be at. From barbershops to gas stations to community events to concerts to wherever we at, to their homes and schools and doctors and churches. We need to have that information readily available to talk about the vaccine, in my humble opinion.
Okay. KJ, we lost you for a minute. You back?
Yes.
Like you got out the car. So for guys that again, for guys that need to get the information, is there anything you want to add to that? How we can get it to? I know a lot of people say, "Hey, I ain't on Facebook." A lot of people, I guess, on Instagram, or now we have what is the Apple place where everybody's at. Where they're having the conversations and stuff. So how do we get the information to the young men, to young men in the, I would say that 16 to 25 bracket? How do we get them? How are they paying attention? What are they looking at?
You got to entice them. I mean, just like with anything, you got to sell it. So particularly with young Black men, the things for one, the thing that we're interested in the most is music, especially right now. Rap industry, you know what I mean? You take your hottest hip hop or pop artists and you put them behind the cause that the people care about, and more people are going to care about it, you know what I mean? But it's just different tactics. I mean, honestly, the thing that I found works best is personal attachment, so finding someone that's close to these young men that they can emulate, or somebody that is, moving positively, that they can be close to show them, you know what I mean? Because you can see something from certain people that you're supposed to idolize. Like we idolized our elders, but people that are close to you, that you're with on a day-to-day basis or weekly, or that are checking in on you, those are the people that are going to make the biggest impact. So I know that I've definitely strived to be a close impact on the brothers that are younger than me, and I constantly check on them, and you know what I mean? We talk from time to time just to tap in and see what they got going on, or where I can steer them in a better direction versus a choice that they may have made because they see something else.
Right. So John, getting back to the video, the whole John Henry comparison that they use with respect to COVID and you know, black men working and well, black people period, but we're talking about black men who are working and were essential workers. You know, you got the stresses of being black in America. How do we make sure that we can drive down? I mean, not as many people are dying, I guess, because the vaccine is made available, but how do we make sure that we come out of this better than we got into it? What are some of the things that we need to do? I wanted to kind of address that. It isn't just, it's not necessarily COVID specific, because there's a lot in that. There's a lot in there they talked about in the video, but how do we come out better as we navigate through COVID, because it's still here with us?
Yeah, man. First of all, I want to just applaud these young brothers for having this conversation, because that's one of the things we have to do. We have to be in communication, intergenerational dialogues of black men, of black community, sharing their honest, earnest feelings. That is the most powerful thing we can do. As long as we are talking to each other, then we're dispelling the myths and the stereotypes that they are pushing out about us, right? Another thing that we have to be able to do is own the reality of the moment, which is that we have lost, you know, millions of lives, unfortunately, as a result of not just this pandemic, but you know, racist police violence, racist white supremacy, and an entire culture of systemic racism that has, you know, attacked black and brown bodies. Like we have been the cannon fodder for an entire civilization for far too long. So listening to the hurt, the trauma, the pain, and yourself is critically important. Getting somebody to sit down with you and being able to parse out, dissect, unpack what you're dealing with is important, because in that conversation, you're going to make some decisions about what you think is in the best interest for your family and your life. And then the other thing is, we talked about the education, but it's the resource allocation. We need to put the money where our hearts are. We have to rehumanize black men, black women, and black children. We have to make this society and the system see us for what we truly are. Beautiful parts of creation that should be valued, respected, and uplifted.
No doubt.
And so it shouldn't even be a notion or a question as to whether or not the work of a sanitation worker or a janitor or a delivery person or a grocer in this moment, or a care worker in this moment, is essential. We know that they are putting their lives on the line every day. So they should have premier access to every life-saving opportunity available. And then as far as the rest of us, we need to make sure that we are being diligent. Whether you choose to take the vaccine or not, I need you to be responsible for your neighbor, which means I need you to wear your mask, maybe double mask. I don't need you to tell me that right now the moratorium on masks has been lifted and I don't have to wear one. I need you to understand science, right? I need you to understand science. Wearing a mask, limiting distance and access to individuals, and washing your damn hands will save a lot of lives.
Which we should have been doing prior to
Some of y'all was nasty. Some of y'all wasn't washing your hands anyway. They taught us that. So I'm just
we should have been washing our hands prior to COVID. So for those of you that are joining me, thank you for joining Conversation with Michael Carson. I'm here tonight with Brother John Taylor, Brother KJ Henson, and Brother Dima Ufat. These are three brothers that are putting in the work in the street, out there with the brothers, communicating with them, making sure that they're dropping knowledge and making sure they're learning so that we can do better and be better in our community. If you want to really know what's going on in Georgia, these are three gentlemen you definitely want to be plugged into and know with respect to what Black men are dealing with and what Black men are doing. We don't always want to talk about the symptoms, but we also want to talk about the solutions. And if you want to be a part of the solution, consider being a part of Black Men Build and BMI Georgia. The information is on your screen where you can get in touch with us, send us an email at BMI, and someone will get back in touch with you. Our website, which is being developed right now, will be up the 1st of May. It's going to be hot. It's going to have all the information that you want to know about what BMI is doing, what BMI is all about. So I want to transition, but before we transition to the next topic, which is, and John kind of talked about it a little bit, about policing and police violence, if you will, I just wanted to send out shouts and prayers to any of you who are out there watching who've lost loved ones as a result of COVID. I know a number of people who have passed away as a result of COVID. If you guys on the screen, if you want to address that or say anything, or if you know someone personally who've passed as a result of COVID, we just want to make sure that we honor them, because they didn't get a chance possibly to have the vaccination or to have the necessary medical care that most people are likely getting now. So before we transition, if you guys want to say anything about that, or we can just transition to the next topic. All right, we'll transition to the next topic. I'm not going to play a video, but I'm going to put a tweet on the screen to kind of bring us in. Who is Jared? Does someone know Jared?
This is my brother.
Oh, okay. Because it's a woman on the screen. I don't know if it's a woman or is it a guy?
I think you know what? I think they're trying to watch the show.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, go to YouTube or go to Facebook.com and look up Michael Carson, my name, and you'll be able to watch it from there. You'll be able to see it. Cool. So I'm gonna share screen real quick. And I just wanted you to see this tweet that Tiffany Cross, who's a TV show host on MSNBC, she has a show every Saturday. And she wrote this book, Say It Louder. If you don't have the book, I recommend you get it. It's a good book. She's her show is excellent, and she does great work in it. So I wanted to talk about that statement. It's almost like, to be honest, our sister Darnella Frazier, the 17-year-old that captured the video of Chauvin murdering, or what some have called a modern-day lynching, brother George Floyd. If she hadn't captured that video, the police report, if you heard or read the police report, basically said that we arrested a Black man. He was on the ground and he basically died of exhaust. He had some heart issues, and then we took him to the hospital and he died. That was pretty much all it said. It didn't really deal with the actual police violence that was taking place. So I want to talk a little bit about that. What were your thoughts with respect to the verdicts as they came down? Because I watched it, and no shade on anybody who was who found that they were happy about it. I was happy for the family, but I mean, 20 minutes after that, Ma'Khia Bryant was being shot in the chest 4 times, by the police. And then we found out there's another brother who was shot in his car while driving away by the police, who had, so I didn't feel any kind of way other than this is just one of so many. And I was just kind of numb to it. I wasn't jubilant. I wasn't sad. I was just numb, like, okay, until the next one. Or we have other cases out here that haven't even been addressed. So what were your thoughts with respect to the verdicts and any impact it may or may not have had on you? Any one of you guys could jump in there.
You can start, John.
Now, I want to hear from the young brothers first.
I'll go. So my real thoughts, man, were prior to the verdict was like, if he does get acquitted, they not gonna give him no real time anyway. He gonna do his time in a comfortably minimum security jail. He's not gonna have to face the fact that he killed a black man. He'll do 3 to 10 years maximum. That's why my real. If they do find him guilty, they're just gonna let him through the back door. And that was the sentiment of a lot of young black men. And like shit, if they do find him on some charges, he gonna be out of there in good behavior in no time. So you trying to tell me killing a black man get you 5 years and a whole bunch of second-degree stuff? So I'm happy for the guilty verdict, but I'm also upset that you still can. They only tried him on something that don't really give him no real time. So it's both. It's like so police officers really not gonna learn from that, because if they do it, they still not gonna get the maximum time. Compared to if we get rid of qualified immunity, they're gonna face what they face. If they do something that's not legal, they're gonna face charges for real. But since we have qualified immunity, they're not gonna face no real time, so it's not gonna be a real change. But it's a little change because he found guilty, but I don't see him doing too much time.
So I was in the bar when I found this out, and just so crazy. Everybody's, oh, thank God, thank you. He's guilty. He's this. He's that. I'm sorry. Second-degree charges, no real time. You can't really call it justice. You know what I mean? There's no way to get real justice when stuff like this happens, because essentially there's no way to replace that pain that you feel when you wake up and you still got to be black. So for me, I was happy that we were seeing due process. That's what I was happy about. Due process. They took the evidence, they took everything into consideration, and they really deliberated, and they gave us a verdict that we wanted to hear. Now, are they going to continue doing that? Is this going to be a pattern that we see of change? Or are they going to hand us a trophy on the mantle and expect us to shut the fuck up for the next 4 or 5 years? You know what I'm saying? That's really what I want to see. But essentially, it was a good turn. It was a good sign. You know what I mean? Minneapolis was going to explode if they had any other kind of outcome. So they did what they knew they had to do.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna say that a system will do what it needs to perpetuate its own existence, even if that means exacting a pound of flesh from itself. That's all it was. Yeah. There was no justice in that. Like you said, Michael, the fact that Ma'Khia Bryant was murdered almost simultaneously with the verdict coming out, the fact that other brothers and sisters were assaulted and murdered within the 24-hour period, it speaks for itself. The individualistic ruling on one crime will never be enough to be justice for a systemic, oppressive, racist, white supremacist dynamic in America. And I judge justice in the simplest way possible. Are my babies safer today than they were yesterday?
Yeah.
And the answer is no, they're not.
Yep.
So, I mean, like, I gotta be honest, man. Like, and let me say this. I have a real issue with rooting for a system to exact justice that I have zero faith in.
Exactly.
Because I constantly ask myself, what's at play? What's the game here? How are they rigging the system so that on one hand, they show me justice from their definition, but in the other hand, they're shoving the knife deeper into it.
And see, for me, that's why I thought that tweet was so powerful, because supposedly, if you look at images of lynchings back in the day, I mean, they were lynching brothers, and it was hundreds and thousands of people out there, and they were taking body parts, and so now we see a modern day lynching, and then people are outraged by it. and then we supposedly have allies, but then when we say defund the police, people are like, oh, wait a minute, y'all going a little too far with that. We want to get justice here, but we really don't want to hear anything else about anything else with respect to the police department and with respect to police violence. So, John, and I know we've had this conversation. I've heard you speak on it. For people who are watching and who really don't understand still what defund the police mean, can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me say, first of all, it means a range of things, from divest from racist, slave anchored or slave system anchored policing structures in this country and globally, and invest in wraparound mental health services, really kind of reflective and engaged, holistic forms of community safety. And quite frankly, if we look at the militarized policing structure in this country and the exorbitant budgets that have been placed into policing, it's very clear why we see people in the streets chanting defund the police. And quite frankly, the young sister Makai, she called the police.
Police, right, exactly.
To protect her.
Yeah.
So when you see me say defund the police, I absolutely mean that. And to everyone who says to us, well, what happens with crime? Crime is everywhere. But due to a system of white supremacy, we are preyed upon by a policing agency and institutions that seek to suppress us and oppress us. It is not about justice. It is not about protection. It is not about safety. It is about keeping us in line, because as long as this country has been in inception, there's been this context that Black folks, that this skin was property and it was dangerous. And you know what? There are Black folks that think the same thing, which is why, Michael, when we had this conversation about defund the police or changing the policing system in this country, we have folks that look like us, and we say, oh, our skin folks and our kin folks, but they look like us, and they say, whoa, you're going too far. Look, this is bias, plain and simple. If you tell someone, I want you to not be afraid of me as a Black man, and then when I see 3 teenage Black men walk down the street, I clench up and I lock my door, you need to ask yourself about the system of implicit bias that has been indoctrinated into your psyche. And why do you think armed roving patrols are needed to protect communities of loving, caring, endearing Black folks who have undergirded society since its inception? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I hear you, man. And I say this all the time to those individuals. I'm like, you guys, on the one hand, are putting us on a milk carton on a daily basis on social media. I'm talking about Black people. And supporting this, but then on the other hand, you are supposedly outraged by, you might be outraged, or you find a way to get around being outraged about a senseless police violence that's going on. I mean, the budgets for these police departments are ridiculous. I was pulling up some statistics. I mean, and these were 2020 statistics. The total police budget and share of selected cities' general fund expenditures in 2020 in New York, $5.6 billion for the police department in New York. In Los Angeles, $1.73 billion. That's 25% of the general expenditures for the city of Los Angeles that's going to the police. And then here in Atlanta is $248 million, or 30% of the general fund going towards police. But yet you talk about the wraparound services, no one wants to hear about that. It's just out of whack. It's out of balance. Are men on the street talking about, or brothers on the street talking about the George Floyd, what is the Justice and Policing Act? Do people know about it? Are they behind it? I know, John, and we've had this conversation. When I was in Illinois, we had the Second Chance Act that I was working with Congressman Danny Davis on the grassroots level. We were working to educate people on that, and this was for brothers who were coming out, and companies would get tax credits for men that they for men and women that they hired who had a felony record. They were actually getting tax credits, and they were actually able to get that passed and signed by I think the first or the second Bush, his first term. But are people talking about the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act? And do people know what it is? KJ, you want to take that?
Not as much as the vaccine.
Okay.
They pushing that vaccine all day, every day. But as far as legislation, no, sir.
Yeah, with respect to the George Floyd Policing Act. Is there anything, have you read it? Is there anything in it that that's lacking? I got it here. I have it here in front of me. I'm just going to read the captions. I'm not going to go
if you can.
Yeah, just work to end racial and religious profiling, save lives by banning chokeholds and no-knock warrants, limit military equipment on American streets and require body cameras, hold police accountable in court, empower our communities to reimagine public safety in an equitable and just way, change the culture of law enforcement with training and build integrity and trust. And the last two are improve transparency by collecting data on police misconduct and use of force, and stop sexual assault in law enforcement custody. It's a lot that I said, but
Yep.
of those things, what would you like to see it a federal, if we're able to get a federal policy, what would you like to see it do?
First and foremost, the thing that you said that stood out the most to me was the fact that we would be holding our police officers responsible. So if that was to be a whole department, right? Like what IA is supposed to be, then that would be something that would spook those officers that felt like they could get away with things that they necessarily wouldn't be able to without this. You know what I mean? So as long as there's a system in place that is holding you accountable 24/7, just like there is at work. If you don't clock in on time, guess what? You're not getting paid. If you do that too many times, you won't have a job.
Right.
But police officers, it seems to be no real accountability. So that would be first and foremost for me on my list, would be basically having watchdogs. Y'all need to be watched like the general public is watched.
Do you think that citizen councils or citizens that can make decisions with respect to the police are needed, or do they work? Do they have one in Atlanta? I'm not sure.
That needs to be
Citizen Review Board. They have a
There is
citizen
an Atlanta Citizens Review Board, although candidly it has been disempowered greatly, and it needs to be supported. And we need residents in the city of Atlanta to come out and participate in the meetings.
Yeah.
And we can get information to folks. But we got 159 counties, and we got 159 sheriff's offices in those 159 counties. We need somebody to oversee every county, municipal, and city law enforcement agency, as well as some form other than the Gold Dome to oversee or at least have some level of insight into statewide policing agencies.
Hey, Adema, did you have a comment you wanted to say? You wanted to say something?
Yeah, you asked a question. I was like, yeah, we do have Citizens Review Board, and John said that. But briefly, I would say with the George Floyd Act, I would say we have to add a piece to it which says qualified immunity is no longer.
Yeah.
And that's really the only reason, really, way you're going to be able to hold police officers accountable for their actions while on duty. They're not above the law. They have to know that, remain there, and clearly understand that they're equal to citizens and not above the law. So if you do anything that's law that breaks the law, you'll be held accountable to the full extent of the law. And that starts with getting rid of qualified immunity. And that's how I feel about it. Like, just personally, if you add that to the George Floyd bill, it'll be okay.
So I got two final questions, and I want to wrap this up. What can we do to counter the narrative in our community about crime and Black men? Because John, to the point you made about people in our own community are scared, there are people who will tell you, you know, Black men are terrorizing my community. I mean, I had this conversation with someone about a couple of hours before the show, and he was just adamant that, you know, it's only us that's doing the harm to us, and we should get off this whole narrative about the police department. How do we counter that? How do we? What is the word? What is the word to the folks to counter that narrative? Or is there a counter to that narrative?
We'll see if the young brothers have it.
Asians commit crime with other Asians. White folks commit crime with white folks. Black people around black people. That's crime.
Most definitely. I mean, crime is committed definitely where in the proximity to people you live with. Anyone who studies criminal justice, they will tell you that people tend not to go out their neighborhood.
So that's what I would tell that brother when he says that black people are the ones terrorize the neighborhood because black people are in your neighborhood that do that. That's not crime. But what we can do is we can have, like I said, services that provide African American men with jobs, counseling that they need, and opportunities to become successful in this country, to live out the American dream. And for example, once you get into the system, it's really difficult to get out of it. And once you're in the system, your living conditions are even worse. We can talk about how you living as a criminal or a person who, let's say a person who's feeling a hard time and is homeless and is getting pulled over, arrested or locked up for vagrancy but can't afford a bond. You live in 3-2 a cell in Clayton County. You on 22 hours lockdown in Clayton County jail. Does this person deserve to be in jail or be labeled as a criminal, or a person that needs help or service to get back on his feet? So when we talk about the justice system, we talk about defunding police and the budget, the money benefit from it, not just the policing. So when it says just black people committing crimes in the neighborhood, they have to be educated. They have to get better services and opportunity. And you're still gonna have small percents of it, and that's where the jails and that's where that stuff come in. But we are already put in jail at higher numbers than any other race. Any other sex. So let's slow that down and see what the real issue is and try to treat that issue before we just continue to lock us up in droves. And the ones who's already locked up, let them out, especially non-violent criminals and misdemeanors. There's several things we can do when it says defund the police and give that money back to the community. So that's where I'm at with that. Like it's things that can be done if we want to do it.
No, that's excellent point, because I'm really big on wraparound services. I'm really big on, Georgia has, they found a way to say, oh, we're not locking up that many people, but we still have men and women. We're talking about men tonight who are under the criminal justice system because when they're still on probation, they're still with papers on them. And Georgia has the highest rate in not even the nation, but probably the world. And it's ridiculous. But KJ, did you want to add something onto that, what we were just talking about with respect to the narrative? How do we counter the narrative?
Yeah. Realistically, man, when people say things like that, you kind of just gotta let people's opinions be their opinions. Statistics will show you that that's not true. And honestly, if you got to think broader than that. Like, I don't like to put us in what's the word?
Put us in a box.
I don't like to put us in a victim like standpoint, but realistically, the things that black men and black people together have gone through in this country are uncomparable as an experience as a human being on this earth. They're incomparable. So for you to say things like that about your own people is kind of crazy. But nonetheless, I do identify our problems as well. You know what I mean? There are some black people that are more afraid of black people than they are anyone else. And that is also a problem that we face. But that comes with the trauma and the internal issues that you face because of your race. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, you wake up black every single day. That is a problem to people. The fact that you're breathing is a problem to people. You know what I'm saying? It's way bigger issues and things at stake than black on black crime, so to speak, because it's not even a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's just become a talking point and a dog whistle for people who want to make some point that typically is meaningless. I'll conclude with this, and John, I'll let you weigh in on this. How do we work collaboratively? Grassroots organizations, community, the police, politicians. How do we work collaboratively so that we can address this issue and move the needle further, even further than some of the things that we're already doing?
So I think we continue to try, right? I will say this, and I said this before on another recent show. Black folks are not a monolith. We don't all think the same thing. We don't all feel the same way, but we do have to have a common agenda.
Right.
And that common agenda has to speak to the overarching needs of our community and our people. Like I said, for me, justice means my babies are safer and that all babies are safer. And that's just not where we are right now.
Yep.
And it worries me. And I feel like we have to get out of our own way.
Yeah.
As it pertains to organizational identity, as it pertains to who's getting the bag, as our crew says, like who's getting the resource, who's getting the airtime, whose face is on the cover of the magazine. I have no interest in being a martyr or a superstar poster child for justice. I have an interest in seeing my people live better and do better. And so if we can just respect each other and listen to one another and support one another and stop falling into the traps of dividing ourselves amongst one another, we might just be okay. Because my grandmother would say, we all we got, but goddamn it, we all we need.
We need,
we should act like we need each other.
Every day, man. And that's real talk, man, because I tell you, we're all needed in all spaces. So, and John, we've had this conversation. No one has the total understanding on everything. I mean, whatever your organization is, whatever you're doing, you don't have the total understanding on everything. So it's all about really finding out what you don't know and getting in a room with the people who know it to help you understand it and then try to be an ally. So I think we need more allies, and then we need more accountability. We need to hold each other accountable. We need to hold these politicians accountable. We need to hold the community accountable to say, hey, if this is what we want to stop in our community, then we need to be involved. We need to be engaged. And then we need to stop letting these politicians just continue to get in there every year and do nothing and tell us that they need to take our money so that we can feel safe because they need to balloon the police budget or whatever budget they're trying to do. We really need to address that, but it takes all of us. So any final words you guys want to give, I'll give you like 30 seconds and then we'll close this out.
I guess I'll go first. As a general message, pretty much just understand that your freedom can't be handed to you by anybody.
Appreciate that. Brother Adema, you got out of the car. You made it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We multitask in Georgia.
Most definitely.
My message would be this Saturday, if you want to come be involved and have some conversations with BMI and BMB, we will be in the streets for our day of service.
Okay.
So we're going to be helping clean up the West End. That's one of the actions. We have 3 actions going on this Saturday. You can tap in and join us in the struggle. You can go to BMB, blackmen.build, or you can go to bmigeorgia.org and get some more information. Like I said, we want to plug our email address and my phone number. Y'all welcome to hit me up and see what we got going on here in Georgia and how you can be a part of it.
Also, most definitely. And if you guys got a flyer or something about that, with respect to that, email that to me or text it to me so we can push that out, John or Adema or KJ, about the day of service. So we can definitely get that out, get the word out on that. Brother John, love you, brother.
Man.
Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. Number one, I love y'all. Mike, thanks for having us in your space, on your platform. Brilliant doing this. Number two, man, y'all brothers are brilliant, man. And I know the sisters that are in the ecosystem with you, I know they're brilliant too. And then the last thing I'm gonna say is we need to build warriors, not slaves. You know, that is my 2021 motto. Everything I do, we building warriors, not slaves, because I refuse to sit idly by and let them drag any of us back into the night.
I feel you. I feel you. Well, you guys always have a place here. You know that. I said that the other night in our meeting. This show is about how do we reach, how do we uplift, develop Black men. This show will never be about tearing down Black men. So anybody watching, listening, you will never hear that from me or this show. That's just not what I'm about, and that's not what this show is about. So I'm glad to have you guys on tonight, and I look forward to all the things that we're going to do in the coming weeks and months together to really to continue to make the impact that you guys are already doing in the community. You've been watching Conversations with Michael Carson. Join us here each Thursday night at 7 o'clock. Tonight we went over because we didn't have the after show on Instagram, but join us here next week for another engaging conversation next Thursday night. Again, if you're watching us on Facebook, make sure that you share and hit the like button. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you click that subscribe button. We thank you so much for joining us. Again, happy Earth Day to all of the families who've been victimized, again, by COVID, by police violence. Not only our thoughts and prayers are with you, but we want you to know that there are people out here that are doing the work, that are not only just praying, but also doing the work and making sure that there are not others who are subject to the pain and the heart that you've gone through as a result of these two pandemics, because they're both are pandemics. And one's been here a little shorter than the other. The other has been a 400-year plus pandemic. And we need to really continue to root that out at the core. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. I'm going to log off right now and then talk to these brothers on the back end. We'll see you next week. Continued blessings to everyone, and Godspeed.